Hello, my name is Iris Rodriguez and I want to talk about the Taínos and the first habitats of Borinquen. The first two subjects that I want to talk is the Taínos culture and origin and who were the Taínos Indians of Borinquen. The purpose is to inform and educate the young people that are growing up in the USA that have Puerto Rican ancestors so they can learn about their origin. The four main points are the origins of the Taínos and their government, Taínos, their villages and houses, and Taínos families and their food. The study of the Taínos culture is fascinating. They were the first inhabitants of the Borinquen island that we know now as Puerto Rico. I want to share some of this information with the young people that their origins are from Puerto Rico so they will learn some of the history of the Puerto Rican ancestors. I want to talk about the origins of the Taínos, their government, their villages and houses, and finally, their families and their food. The Taínos Indians was a subgroup of the Arahuacan Indians that came from South America, and they moved to the Antilles Islands like Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico. The Taínos culture impressed both of the Spanish people and the modern sociologists. The Arahuacan achievement included construction of ceremonial ballparks whose boundaries were marked by upright stone dolmens, development of a universal language, and a creation of a complicated religious cosmology. The Taínos not only had a complicated religious cosmology, but also a very interesting government. The Taínos and their government. They had the caciques, they were the chief of the villages. The caciques was an inherent position of a great privilege. They were polygamous and they had political marriages to unite the yucayeques, they were the villages. They wore a distinctive head covering made from cotton with a gold amulet or seal fashioned with blue and red macaw feathers. They also wore a mao, which was a round white cotton cover for shoulders, chest, and back. They participated in the Cojoba ceremonies and also owned the most powerful religious symbols made from wood or stone. Often the cacique's favorite wife or wives were buried alive with him. First, they were given a potion to drink to help them sleep through it. Other important positions in the Taínos were Nitaínos, that were the noblemen, craftsmen, artisans, and the warriors. The Boiques were the shamans, and the lineage was carried from the mother. And Naborias were like serfs, and they fished, hunted, and worked the conucos, that it was the place where they have their harvest, and generally did the hard labor. Now that we know about their government, let's talk about their villages and houses. Villages or yucayeques were built close to a source of water with a courtyard in the middle and under tall trees. It had four roads that led to the batey. The batey or plaza were located in the middle of the yucayeques, and that's where they have different things like games, ceremonies, music, everything, especially areitos, that it was a religious ceremony held in the batey, often involving neighboring yucayeques. Ceremonial dancing was one of the principal activities. And this one was so important that they used to dress up for the areito, and they just put color and painting their bodies to dress up for this special occasion that they call the areitos. A tall fence surrounded the village. A road was built leading directly to the water source with two tall lookout towers at either side. Around the yucayeques there were the conucos or farms. The houses, they call it bohíos. Bohíos were round with conical-shaped roofs without windows. The shelters were built from bejucos and red de caña and had thick walls. For the caciques and the bohiques, they had the canes. It was a bigger structure. It was rectangular, and they were large and sometimes housed 15 families. Each boia and caney had storage space made from a flat surface and hung from the roof of the dwelling. The storage space was filled with woven baskets that contained useful items. The floor of the dwelling was made of packed dirt and was immaculated clean. A fogon and buren and an olla, a large covered clay pot for cooking, were found along with dugos and hammocks for sitting. Tame parrots and small domesticated dogs were kept. Obviously, the structure of their houses were very weak, but not their families. The Taínos families and food. The family, they have a regular family, but the men cleared the fields for farming, and they also hunted fish, built canoas and wooden paddles, and protected the yucayeques. Men fish using a net made from plant fibers. They formed harpoons from wood and tipped them with flint from bones or shells. They will also crush roots and stem of a poisonous shrub and cast it into the rivers. As the poison stung the fish, they could be caught by hand. The poison did not affect the fish for eating. The men also harvest conch, oyster, crabs, and other shellfish. The woman cooked, tended to the needs of the family, tended the farm and the harvest of the crops. They also made pots, grills, and griddles from river clay by rolling the clay into rope and then layering it to form or shapes. The inside was smooth with stones and the spouts cut out with stones or sticks. The clay pottery was fired in a hole covered with flat stones and a fire built above it. Firing took many hours. Mothers used to carry their babies in their backs on padded boards that was secured to the baby's forehead. The board flattened the baby's forehead. Thus, the Taínos had a flat forehead because they thought that was attractive. The food, one of the main food they used was the yuca, and they made a flour from that to make a bread, like a tortilla that they call cassava or casabe. The Taínos primarily used the tubers as a source of food. Also harvests were guanábanas, yautía, squash, mamey, papaya, pineapples, achiote, sweet potatoes, and corn. There was also peanuts, black-eyed peas, and other things that they have for food. The manioc or yuca was lengthy process. First, the yuca tubers were peeled with a sharpened rock and then grated and squeezed in a woven sleeve to squeeze out the poisonous juices. The flour was used to make the round and flat cassava bread, which was cooked on a griddle propped on stones over fire. The cooked bread was dried and stored and could be eaten months later. A soup was also made using the poisonous juice of the yuca, cooking it until it was no longer poisonous. It cooked into a thick brown liquid that was seasoned with meats, cassava bread, sweet potatoes, and lots of pepper, and they used to call that stew a pepper pot. The Taínos would hollow a calabash, cutting eye holes into it. They would wear the calabash on their head while submerged in rivers or in the ocean, and thus were able to catch birds by grabbing them by the legs. They would use hat covered with leaves to catch parrots, which were a delicacy. The men cooked on a barbacoa. In fact, this is where our modern barbecue comes from. Like I said before, the study of the Taínos culture is fascinating. They were the first inhabitants of Puerto Rico. It is amazing to know that many of our countries are connected from our first ancestors, like the Antile Islands and some countries from South America. I have learned so much from my Taínos ancestors when I studied this story years ago. Their origins that are our origin, their houses, families, and food are pieces of legacy that we'll still have, some of them. It is so good to know and understand where we came from and appreciate the origins of our